In this first lesson, we'll be looking at faculty presence and communities of inquiry, in particular as these relate to how we can enhance the online learning experience for all of our students, regardless of what course or what discipline we are teaching in. Faculty presence, in essence, revolves around three different activities a faculty member can pursue in any given course, regardless of its nature. It's hybrid, online, or other. And it really revolves around responsiveness, relevancy, and relational kinds of activities the faculty member conducts with the students in this online learning environment. First and foremost, we have three different areas where faculty can be more responsive, relevant, and relational in terms of this online learning experience. One of them is the faculty-learner exchanges that are ongoing throughout a particular course. And that refers to those kinds of interactions that are particularly useful for learners in relationship to their communications and interactions with faculty. And again, the responsiveness of those communications and their relevancy are all incumbent upon the faculty member to ensure that this happens with the learner. There are also learner-learner considerations in terms of presence for our faculty that encourage learners to interact and exchange through dialogue, information, the assignments, whatever it is that's ongoing in the course, those kinds of activities in an online learning environment that reinforce those kinds of interactions between learner and learner. And finally, the transactional exchanges between the learner and the content. And again, faculty have a lot of preparation to do to ensure that their online learning experience is sufficient that allows students to interact and transact with the content in a meaningful way. Each of these areas, faculty-learner, learner-learner, and learner-content interactions are critical, key to what is called a communities of inquiry approach to online learning that I'd like to cover next. This community of inquiry approach is based in research that's been ongoing for the last 2 decades, and it really speaks to each of these areas where a faculty member can impact a student, a learner, in a given online learning experience. The first aspect of community of the community of inquiry is the collaborative constructivist process that leverages these three critical areas of constructivist online learning experiences: teaching presence, social presence, and cognitive presence. These are the three areas that really encapsulate what the community of inquiry is attempting to do. And if you look to the chart on the right of this particular slide, you will find that, again, this particular approach looks at how the teacher interacts with students, that building that relationship that's critical to any learning experience. Also, is the content made relevant to the student via what the faculty member does in preparation for a given course. And then is the rigor sufficient with the teacher and the content to engage throughout the learning experience, engage the learners in meaningful, engaging kinds of learning activities. These deep and authentic online learning are informed by the intersections between these three areas of teacher, content, and student. First, let's talk about teaching presence and what that means in terms of those intersections we just saw in that chart. First and foremost, teaching presence refers to the instructional design and organizational processes that take place even before the course begins. Again, keep in mind that the whole point of teaching presence is to be there in the online course, both when it is being conducted, but more significantly, before it even starts, to ensure that these kinds of engaging, authentic, meaningful, deep learning take place in the activities, the discussions, and other elements within the online learning experience that are germane to assisting students in their learning processes. And faculty do this even before the course begins. Facilitating interactions is also part of this process of being present in the online learning experience. And this could go to being present in the discussion topics, providing meaningful feedback to students in a timely way that's going to direct their learning further, answering questions in the various discussion forums or other in the online learning experience, in the online course in a responsive, meaningful way. And then elements of direct instruction. When we see students who are struggling or challenged with material, we provide additional kinds of activities, instructional activities that will help and tailor that particular assistance, that particular help, that scaffolding to a student's given to a given student's academic needs. Cognitive presence is what kinds of activities has a faculty member developed and facilitated as part of increasing the cognitive impact and also addressing the cognitive load that our students experience in our online learning experiences. First and foremost, in terms of cognitive presence, is active learning. Active learning is going to ensure that our students are not only hearing the content and seeing the content, but also actually putting their minds on the content. And that's critical, again, in terms of presence, cognitive presence and other, that students are actively learning the material. This active learning has to be immersed, infused with authentic context. So what that means, again, is that faculty are planning these kinds of activities, cognitive presence, within an authentic context, in a meaningful context that is relational to the student, that appeals to their professional, their personal experiences. More significantly, it's in the real world, something that faculty ingrain into the course is from the real world, to connect the course with the real world, to offer that cognitively engaging experience. Also, part of the cognitive presence is not only exploration, but having students solve problem-based kinds of activities, that they solve real problems in the real world, and that inquiry-based approach to this process ensures that students are leading that particular effort, not only in solving the problem, but researching those kinds of situations, those kinds of contexts that allow that problem solution process to take place. And finally, part of cognitive presence is to ensure that our students are also metacognitively reflecting on the material they're learning, the skills they're building, and using that reflection to then inform how they can improve that performance going forward, or how they can better understand a particular concept. Social presence is just what it says. It's ensuring there is a connection between the learner and the learner-learner connection, as well as the faculty-learner connection. And it revolves around three different areas. One is establishing effective connections, relational connections, relationships with your students. And you can do this a variety of ways. What I typically do in my courses is I have icebreaker activities. Each and every time we meet for a given session, we get together and we compare our personal experiences along the lines of the content to get to know and otherwise understand how these particular concepts and ideas are connected to what we have experienced. And more importantly, we share those in our courses, either through the discussion posts, through icebreaker activities, as I mentioned, through the announcements, and we share these and build these connections, relational connections with each other. Communication, also very important, responsive communication, communication that is meaningful and aligned with students' academic needs, personal and professional and academic needs, and then to develop group cohesion. Many of the activities in my course are group activities, and that group cohesion foundationally is critical to ensuring that students can work together in teams, but they can't do that unless they get practice doing that through social presence and the activities that faculty devise to ensure that students are interacting and collaborating with each other on the various course projects or assignments. And finally, the theories that inform praxis. And I'm always one to stress that whatever decisions we make about what goes on in our online learning experiences is informed by theory. There are three theories that really speak to these communities of inquiry, the insistence that relationships, responsiveness, and relevancy are part and parcel of what we do in an online learning experience. And they revolve around three different areas: social constructivism, connectivism, and cognitivism. Each of these areas we will be discussing in this particular lesson, and we will be using these theories to inform our own ideas and notions and practices around communities of inquiry, and more significantly, how we can then infuse those communities of inquiry, those presences, teaching, the cognitive engagement, cognitive presence, and the social presence in our courses, in our online learning experiences.